Walk with us as we dive into the harsh realities of the Cambodian genocide.
Today your hosts are Marchelle and Love, and our first question is, who were the Khmer Rouge and what did they believe?
The Khmer Rouge was a radical movement that ruled Cambodia from the year 1975 to 1979.
They won their power through guerrilla warfare, and they were under the Pol Pot leadership, who was responsible for the Cambodian genocide.
During this genocide, up to 3 million people were tragically murdered. The Khmer Rouge believed in social transformation, which include them aimed to make a completely societal Cambodia.
Mobilizing the population into unpaid labor was the way they did it. They eliminated many institutions like money, markets, and private property, as well as shutting down schools, hospitals, shops, and offices, as well as monasteries.
The Khmer Rouge favored the lowest and poorest peasants above the rest. They also desired secrecy and control by using small groups of maintained leaders.
They were often driven by extreme paranoia, which made them suspect that failures that they had were due to traitors and enemies. This resulted in torture and execution of thousands, even of their own loyal party members.
Furthermore, our next question is, what led to their rise to power in 1975, and who was their leader?
Many things led to their rise of power in 1975, one of which was Sihanouk's weakening government in 1969 due to internal conflicts.
And this policy of balancing major conflicts against one another. The U.S. bombing campaigns in the early years of 1970s caused much destruction and upsetness in the Cambodian countryside, which led to the increasing support of the Khmer Rouge.
Later, Sihanouk actually formed a coalition with the Khmer Rouge, which really boosted people's support for them. The Khmer Rouge was able to take control easier due to the Civil War in 1970, as well as this support from Sihanouk.
This helped them gradually expand their control of many areas in Cambodia. In April of 1975, the Lon Nol government collapsed. This led to the unstopped entry of Khmer Rouge forces into Phnom Penh.
Their military leader of the Khmer Rouge was their prime minister of the new government, Pol Pot.
With that being said, following up with our next question, which is, how did their policies lead to genocide?
The Khmer Rouge's policies under Pol Pot directly led to the Cambodian genocide by attempting to radically transform the Cambodian society.
These policies tried to dismantle virtually every element of traditional Cambodian society. These policies under the Pol Pot attempted to transform Cambodian society in a land-centered utopia. These harsh policies led to mass deaths, harsh labor, starvation, execution, and purges. The Cambodian genocide was the result of a social engineering project by the Khmer Rouge, attempting to create a classless agrarian society. The political leadership would ultimately collapse when the neighboring Vietnam invaded, establishing an occupation that would last more than a decade. Following up, with that being said, who were the victims and how were they targeted?
The Khmer Rouge regime targeted a wide variety of people in an attempt to create a classless rural utopia. These included ethnic Chinese, Vietnamese, and Thai people, and the Cambodian with Chinese, Vietnamese, or Thai ancestry.
Religion was outlawed by the regime. Half of the Chan Muslim population was murdered, as were 8,000 Christians. Buddhism was eliminated from the country, and by 1977 there were barely any functioning monasteries left in Cambodia. With that being said, certain groups were targeted, such as the wealthy and educated urban Cambodians, as well as the former policemen, soldiers, and students, amongst others.
The victims were targeted by personal backgrounds and what social status a person had, such as being an educated individual, former government worker, or religious figure, as well as being some kind of ethnic minority.
The victims were also targeted by social class, such as urban residents, wealthy or land-owning families.
Our next question is, how did the world respond during and after the genocide?
During the Cambodian genocide, the world responded slowly and cautiously. After the genocide, international efforts focused on humanitarian aid, refugee support, and justice through legal decision-making panel. With that being said, the world responded the way it did during the genocide because the Cambodian leadership implemented many isolationist policies under the Pol Pot regime in order to seal the country off from global analyzation. The regime vision included rejecting any foreign influence, resulted in international media being banned and diplomatic relations cut off.
By doing such, the Khmer Rouge was able to limit any global awareness of the event occurring, in which contributed to the longevity of the regime. The world responded better after the genocide because after the overthrow of the Khmer Rouge and the reopening of the country, crimes began to gain wider international attention. News media reported on survivors' accounts.
This allowed victims and survivors to be effectively provided with humanitarian aid supporting refugees. Now, that was a lot of information. So with that being said, we're going to break it down just a little bit. We're going to do a little flow. With that being said, we're going to give you a brief background of who, when, and where all of this took place.
So the leaders of the Khmer Rouge was Pol Pot, and this all took place in Cambodia in the years 1975 to 1979. But some of this stuff was being implanted even before that.
With that being said, the Khmer Rouge ideologies being used beforehand, Chinook helped the civilians gain favor of the Khmer Rouge by having government support. This led to the main causes of displacement of power, especially regarding to their government. And this led to societal norms regarding to victims as well. But this mostly misplaced the norms that they were meant to be receiving as rights regarding to being native to their land.
There was a large human cost regarding all of this, and that included victims' experiences, their quotes, and survivor stories, which we do have some quotes for you here in a bit.
With that being said, many victims were forced from their cities and along with their farms that they owned. Many entire families died from starvation, execution, and overworking. With that being said, the Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge isolated these people from their native land and where they lived. In Cambodia, from the rest of the world, it started to empty cities, destroying money and private property and religion. The Khmer Rouge was also setting up rural collectives.
So here's some quotes for you. This one's from Sari, who was 11 when she was separated from her parents, who unfortunately did not survive. She said, and I quote, "Why are you asking me? You want to bring back my nightmares." End quote. And again she said, I quote, "Our country has suffered a lot. We just want a peaceful life for our children." End quote.
With that being said, let's track back to the world response during and after. Now, during the genocide, the world responded slowly and cautiously. After the genocide, international efforts began to focus on humanitarian aid, refugee support, and justice through legal decision-making panel. Now, the world responded the way it did because Cambodia leadership implemented many isolationist policies, causing many people to not be able to share humanitarian aid, things that will help victims, and many more amongst the native land. With that being said, this caused a stop for many humanitarian supplies that victims need, along with refugees that were living in bad condition. Now, after the Khmer Rouge was thrown, this occurred after the genocide, and this allowed the country to reopen, allowing the crimes that were happening to gain wider international attention. This led to news media reports and survivor accounts. This allowed for victims to speak on their experiences, giving us many quotes that allow us to know what happened in first-person point of view. This allowed victims and survivors to be effectively provided with humanitarian aid and supporting refugees with what they need. Some quotes were said from victims, such as,
Mies, a 32-year-old store owner in a small back lane less than 2 kilometers away from the infamous Tulu Slang, a secondary school that was turned into a torture center, and which is now Phum Phun's Genocide Museum. And he said, "We are lucky," or I quote, "We are a lucky country now," end quote. That's what he told UCA News, and again, I quote, "It is hard to believe these horrible things happened not long ago, but we must never forget my parents also share their stories with my kids, but they don't go into many details," end quote.
Not only were there adults, but there were also children who they themselves expressed their pain as refugees from what they're experiencing as first-hand victims, such as,
a young girl during this genocide said, and I quote, "Why is this happening to me? What is life? What is the meaning of life?" End quote.
This expressed great turmoil from the things that happened, causing not only elderlies but young victims to question the meaning of life. And not only that, it also showed great pain to those that lost, to those that were stripped from their dignity, and to those that were seeking for an answer when there looked like there was no freedom to receive. With that being said, this discovery of the Cambodian genocide, this opening to the harsh, true reality of what happened, is heart-wrenching. And it leaves us to mourn for those in places where our voices will not be heard and where our hearts can only imagine.
So our next question is really a reflection of ourselves. And it is, did never again ever really mean never again?
With that being said, we believe that the answer is no. We say this because oftentimes people say we learn about history so that we don't repeat it, but not one of us can predict the future or how anyone may react to an event.
People try their best to compromise and to come to terms with never again. We say never again, and we really mean not again.
All of these expressions sound similar but really mean entirely different things. This shows that people use these expressions to express what they don't want to go through again.
Oftentimes, this is our verbal reaction to our past traumas that all of us unfortunately deal with.
But with that being said, we also have learned through many years of history and through many lineages that pain itself is not selfish, and it allows us to speak the language of sorrow, which brings humanity together. With that being said, we give our great sincere, and we mourn for those of great loss.
Thank you for listening.